How you doing?
I have Chris on the line. I'll get out of the call.
Thank you very much. Hi, Chris. How you doing?
I'm very well, Michael. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. A great pleasure to say hello, mate.
Yes, indeed.
When I saw that Broderick had an album coming out early this year, it would never even crossed my mind that I'd be talking to you with a new Dingoes CD about to be released and the chance to see you guys tour around the country. That is just unbelievable news.
Well, I should say this. It was as unbelievable for us as well, because the first thing that happened, was that we got nominated into the ARIA Hall of Fame last year, and which was a total surprise because we've never achieved a commercial success as most of our contemporaries, and so to get that award was kind of out of the blue. I mean, it was awarded, I think, as much for our influence on Australian music rather than, like sales or, gold records or anything like that. And so that was quite a nice surprise for us. And then, of course, we were required to perform at the awards, and so we had to fly out to Karen Tolhurst and John Boyce from the States because they both reside there now. And we rehearsed and for the show, and it was magic. It was like we'd never, ever stopped playing together. And you've got to understand, it was a 30-year gap, so it was pretty bizarre.
That's quite an amazing thing, isn't it? But I guess that shows the magic that you guys had together when you were playing together.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. I'm a big believer in bands and the sound that a band makes, and there's something that's far greater than the individual components when a good band gets together, whether it's the Stones or the Faces or, whatever. There's something that a band makes that often, when, say, members go solo, they can never quite get that back. And I've always believed in that chemistry, and I'm proud to say and lucky enough to have experienced it with the Dingoes. And, as I said, after 30 years, to sit in the room and the noise that came out was like, wow, this is quite unique.
So how was the feeling recording now as to compared to 30 years ago? The technology changes. I know you guys are all still recording, but to have the Dingoes back in to do their thing in a technology format like we have now, did that feel any different?
Actually, it allowed us to record much more in the fashion which we prefer to record, and that was as a live band. I mean, when we did the last albums, there was a lot of you'd be putting different instruments in different rooms and baffling off, and there wasn't a great deal of eye contact, because we did like to, as far as possible, record as a band. Now, with modern technology, of course, it's a lot easier to do that, and Karen's studio in Tucson, the setup is you can basically all sit in the same room. You've got eye contact, you can send each other signals or whatever, like spur of the moment sort of things, and get a live atmosphere down without sort of having spill and all these unnecessary things. So the technology actually has worked in our favour.
And we're looking forward to hearing the new CD, I think, out in about 2 weeks' time. So what can you tell folks to expect? I guess people will naturally expect to hear similar things that from the iconic Dingoes albums from the 70s, but...
Look, it's very, as I said, it's like nothing's changed. I mean, I definitely, it sounds modern, and like the lyrics are obviously more contemporary, contemporary times. You may well remember, like, some of the stuff from the old Dingoes days, like Waiting for the Tide to Turn, was quite overtly political, and with the Whitlam government and things like that, we were sort of, as much as we were country, we were political and blues in this as well. So obviously, the lyrics are more up to date in that regard. They're still pretty oblique, though. I mean, no one's sort of rattling the cage or the can or anything like that. And the sounds, we've still got traditional things like mandolin and steel and slide, all those, and lots of harmonica, because Broderick's one of the best harp players in the country. And so, yeah, it's got its roots, it's old country, it's whatever you want to call it in that regard, but it's certainly not old-fashioned.
All those beautiful trademark things that people loved about the Dingoes, indeed.
That's right.
I remember, and I was only a teenager at the time, but I remember the press when you guys went to America in the late 70s that there were big things expected from you guys, and if correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you toured quite a lot with Little Feat.
No, we did a couple of shows with Little Feat. I think what happened with us, we went over there, recorded, and went on the road to promote the album. And our management company also managed Lynyrd Skynyrd. And what they were doing, they were sort of blooding us in the smaller venues. We started off in the small clubs and then got up to the bigger clubs, then the small concerts and so on. And they were priming us to join the Lynyrd Skynyrd tour. And then the tragedy happened when Lynyrd Skynyrd's plane went down, and so there was no major tour anymore. In fact, that's what took the wind out of the sails of the Dingoes' career. It was nothing to do with the band or anything else. It was just basically the management company suffering a huge loss in income, and of course they were devastated on a personal level as well. No longer had the money or the time for the Dingoes, so that was the beginning of the end, as it were. And it's, things started to fray, and I suppose tempers get a bit short, and that was, as I said, the beginning of the end. And there was they completed one more record, Orphans of the Storm, and then basically all went our separate ways.
That's such a shame, because I just think the Lynyrd Skynyrd audience in the States would have loved you guys.
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. They were very helpful too to us, because we met them a number of times, and we played on their home turf a few times, down in Florida. And yeah, you're right. We got a lot of Skynyrd fans along. Fantastic guys they were, I must say.
And I've recently had Rick Price on the show, who's living in Nashville and doing quite a bit of work in that part of the world with Tommy Emmanuel, and I can just hear the Dingoes still fitting into that slot in that part of the world, and the guys in down south in America just lapping you guys up.
Yeah, I know. It's quite interesting, isn't it? Like, here we are from all these guys from Melbourne, and they like us down there. I think one of my biggest blasts when I was over there back then with the Dingoes was we played a college concert, a lunchtime concert, and they'd been playing Shine a Light as the lead track, of the album. It wasn't actually released as a single, but it was doing that work. It was the Vanguard track, and for the first time ever, I saw an American audience singing along with it, and I thought that sent shivers down me. It was fantastic,
Well, I've got to have a bit of an Adelaide flavour, seeing we're in Adelaide, and folks may remember, just on a personal note, that you and the great Malcolm Eastick were the first guitar players on Jimmy Barnes's solo band.
That's fantastic. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I was talking about that to someone just recently. Actually, it was they were wild times, because that was a big time for Jim. We finally made the break, and then to get picked out of, look, he could have had any guitar players he wanted in the world, not just Australia, and he got Mal and I to kick off his solo career, which was a great honour, and I'm forever thankful. And boy, we had some good times, I've got to tell you that.
And in my humble opinion, I still think that first record is still the best thing Jimmy has ever made.
Yeah, I like a lot of Jim's stuff, and I think I like the soul stuff too, because he's always had that great reverence for Otis and those guys. He does that stuff great.
And Glenn Shorrock is running around Australia at the moment, celebrating his 45 years in the business, and folks, older folks than I will remember you from Axiom with Brian Cadd and Glenn as well.
Well, that's interesting. So yeah, I see Glenn whenever I can when he comes down to Melbourne. We often have a drink or so together. He's fantastic. He's still fit and up there doing it, which is great. And strange enough, this week I attended the wedding of Nick Cadd, who is Brian's son, who's coming up from the States to live permanently out here. So, yeah, we're all in touch, and we're all very much part of each other's families.
Magnificent. And just on one more thing on a personal note, I've had the fantastic Sam C and Glenn Mason on the program quite regularly, and I love the guys to death. What they're doing now is magnificent. But every time they come on, I get emails, and people want to hear tunes from the Stockley C and Mason album from the late 70s. That is such. Even now, people still talk about that record.
Isn't that incredible? Yeah, because at the time, no one seemed to care much about it. I think it was one of those poor timing things. If you remember, when that record came out, it was just about the height of punk, and a band like Stockley C. Mason playing in tune and things didn't really rate. It wasn't quite rough enough around the edges, although it was pretty rock and roll. But yeah, it was a great band, and I love what Glenn and Sam are doing now. That last Partners album was magnificent. It was like hearing the band or someone like that play, and I don't know why they don't do more more records, or sell more records. I guess it's just lack of a major company, and I think someone out there should pick up their stuff and promote it because it's just beautiful.
It is indeed. They are talented gentlemen indeed. And I am, I'm sure, so many people around Australia are so excited to hear the Dingoes are coming back around the country to see you guys play live. For someone like me who was only a kid when you guys were around in the early days, is a real thrill and going to be an absolute treat.
Well, I'm glad you're looking forward to it. I must say that it was with some trepidation we accepted all these dates because we thought, what if we go out there and no one comes? It's going to be a bit embarrassing. But I'm telling you right now, I know 2 of the shows in Victoria have sold out completely, and the third one's almost sold out. And they're all selling incredibly well. So I think we can breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief. If the other states are as kind, we'll do okay.
And you have a hot band out with you as well. Ashley Davies behind the drum kit. He's amazing.
He's a great drummer, fantastic drummer, and we really wanted someone who could understand what John Lee contributed to the band, and he's got that, but he's at the same time he's brought his own style and his own feel to the table, but he's obviously understood what John was to the Dingoes, and John was a very, very important part of the Dingoes. In fact, when Peter Roach, the manager, was he was canvassing opinions amongst the other acts like the Stones and whatever, and the Who. One of the things I picked up on was that the drummer's fantastic. He just really lays it down, and so John was a large part of that. And sadly he died a few years back now. But I said Ashley's managed to capture a bit of that magic and bring his own stuff to the table. We've also got Kevin Bennett playing guitar and singing harmony, which is another luxury we lacked in the old days, was having a permanent, really like a good high harmony voice, because with Broderick's range it was very hard to get on top of that, but Kevin can do that. And we've got Chris Copping, who's a very good friend of all of ours in the Dingoes, who was of course in Procol Harum many years ago, and he's joining us on keyboards. He plays on the record as well.
Magnificent. It's as I said before, Chris, it's I think it's going to be one of the most looked forward to tours of the year. It's sort of come out of the blue and come suddenly, but I think there's a lot of excitement building up very quickly indeed. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to Adelaide as well, because it's always had a special place for me. I remember like one of the first Adelaide and South Australia, first place to have like a lot of pub breweries and a lot of good wine. So I always feel very much at home over there.
Some of the good things in life, mate.
That's right, mate.
All right, Chris. I'm so looking forward to seeing you guys play and to be able to have a listen to the new CD when it's out. So I can't wait.
Okay, good on you.
Can I quickly get you to do a tag for me?
Sure, mate.
My show is called Sitting in a Bar in Adelaide.
Yep.
If you can just do me something along the lines of, this is Chris Stockley and you're listening to blah blah blah.
Yep. Okay. This is Chris Stockley. You're listening to Sitting in a Bar in Adelaide, and it's making me very thirsty speaking about myself. I'm not going to get myself a beer. And thanks to Michael, and we look forward to seeing you all in SA very soon.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate your time. A great pleasure to say hello, and I'll be there with bells on. Can't wait.
Introduce yourself when we're out there, mate.
Cheers, mate. Cheers. Bye-bye.